Hi, I'm Amelia, and in this week's video I'll be sharing all of the things I made in March, including my Sew Frugal reveal and a little haul of the things I managed to pick up at the Stitch Festival last weekend. Hi, I'm Amelia and welcome to my channel. This is where I talk all about my love for fabric and sewing for me and also for my family. Now, as ever, I will make sure that I put all links where I can in the description box for the patterns and the fabrics that I mention in the video so that you can click through and look at them for yourself. I will also try and put links to any of my previous videos that I mention in there in the description box, and there will also be timestamps. So if there's any part of the video that you would like to flick forward to or that you wish to skip out altogether, then do use those timestamps so that you can skip to the part of the video that you're interested in watching. In terms of what I'm wearing today, I'm looking forward to sharing that with you, and I'll do that a little bit later on in the video, but I thought I would start with the things that I ended up making for the Sew Frugal challenge this month. Now, I did put out a video earlier on in March all about my plans for the Sew Frugal challenge. I came up with a bit of a capsule wardrobe for spring and summer, and I am hoping to get back to some of those patterns in the spring and the summer, but I did end up just choosing 2 to sew up this month. It was a pretty busy March for my family, so in the end I decided to go with a basic and with a skirt, and I'll share those with you now. So the first thing I made was the Stellan tee by French Navy Patterns, and I made it in this beautiful but plain white cotton jersey. I think I picked this one up from Sew Me Sunshine, so I'll link a similar one below. Now, I really enjoyed this pattern. I love the curved hem on this pattern. I think it's a really nice hemline. It looks great tucked into jeans, but equally it looks great worn out of jeans, as well as kind of a casual around the house top. So I think that that will work really well in my wardrobe, which is why I chose to make it. I love French Navy instructions, and for a free pattern, I think the instructions and the drafting are really, really good. The only thing that I will change when I make it next time, you can sort of see here, there's a little bit of pulling around this neckband. I'm not sure if it's the stretch percentage of the cotton jersey that I used, because it feels pretty perfect in terms of the weight compared to other cotton jerseys I've sewn with in the past. But definitely when I put in this neckband, it was quite tight fitting, and you can see there's a little bit of pulling or rippling here of the fabric because there was just a bit of excess fabric to gather into the neckband. So I think if I'd added just a little bit of length to the neckband, that it would have sat a little bit better. And interestingly, I saw Sally, who is Secret Life of a Seamstress over on Instagram, say a very similar thing when she recently made the Stellan top. So I don't think it's just me. I think both of us found that the neckband was a little tight in terms of putting that in without getting some pulling. But that's a very minor issue, and if I want to, I can easily just go in and take out this neckband and pop it back in again, which I might do, but actually it looks fine on. And it really was a top that I need to add to my wardrobe for just casual days around the house and with my children. I think it will get a lot of wear in my wardrobe. Now, these sleeves I really like as well. They look fine in terms of a length for me. I know some people have found them quite long. They sit in a really nice place on me, but I also like the fact that you can cuff them and roll them up, which I think I will be doing when I wear this with jeans. So all in all, a great pattern. I made a size C in the end, which corresponds with my measurement, and it's an oversized fit without being too big and baggy. So that is the Stellan tee, my first make for Sew Frugal 2023. So the next fabric that I decided to use was this beautiful viscose linen that I bought from the lovely Andrea at Beyond the Pink Door. Now, I did buy this quite some time ago now, so I'm not sure if it will still be in her shop, but I'll link Beyond the Pink Door below because Andrea curates the most gorgeous selection of fabrics. So do go and have a look, and I'll link that below. Now, in the end, I decided to make a circle skirt. Now, I did love all of the dresses that I shared in my video, but both time got away on me this month, but also I reach for skirts an awful lot. I don't love trousers and jeans. I find them quite difficult to fit, and especially in the spring and summer, I just love the loose and flowy feeling of skirts and dresses. And I made a similar half circle skirt last spring and summer, and I have worn it so much. So I decided, especially with this beautiful floaty linen viscose fabric, that it would be perfect for a half circle skirt. Now, I would have loved to make a full circle skirt like the Megan Nielsen Veronica pattern that I shared in my video. But when it came to it, I found that the fabric wasn't quite wide enough to do that, and I didn't want to put a seam down the front, which I could have done. So in the end, what I did was I used a half circle skirt, which I calculated using the free by Hand London circle skirt calculator. So you just put in your waist measurements for that. They do all of the rest of the hard work for you. And then I used the Megan Nielsen Veronica waistband, and I also used the scalloped pocket template. Now it's a little bit tricky to see because the fabric is so busy, but it is a lovely deep sort of scalloped pocket that I popped on the front of this skirt, and I think it's a nice little feature detail to add on there. So I'm really pleased with that skirt. I know it's going to get a lot of wear in my wardrobe, and it is a free pattern, so really you can't say better than that. In terms of closures, this is finished with an invisible zip down at the side here, and I added in one of my little rosy cheeks labels that I actually got at the Stitch Festival, so I put this in when I was finishing this off earlier in the week. I just love those yellow colours, and I think that Art Deco design goes really well with the Art Deco fabric on my skirt. So there it is, my second make for Sew Frugal 2023, this circle skirt. Now March was also the month for World Book Day, and my children do like to request interesting costumes for mummy to make them, which I do love to do. Now this year my son wanted to go as Calvin from the Calvin and Hobbes cartoons, and so he requested a t-shirt. Now being the month of Sew Frugal, I thought I would combine this request with Sew Frugal 2023, and I used the Misusu Patterns Rowan tee, which is a free pattern for children. It's a unisex pattern, and it's a lovely oversized t-shirt pattern with this dropped shoulder here. Now I can't remember where I got this fabric in the end. It was very difficult to find red and black striped fabric. Easy to find red and white, but not so red and black. So in the end I found this from a seller on eBay, I believe, and it's a viscose jersey, which he is loving wearing. He's actually picked this up to wear it quite a few times since I made it for book day, so that's great. Now I popped the pocket on the front, and I'm very pleased with my pattern matching there, so I'm not sure you can see it. It has a lovely little pocket on the front, and the whole thing came together so quickly, and he's finding that really, really comfortable to wear. I did put the long sleeves on it just because it was still quite cold, or it has been quite cold in March, but I think he'll get lots of wear out of that in the spring as well, when it's just a slightly cooler day. It is quite an oversized t-shirt. My son is 9, turning 10, and I made him the size 10. But it is quite a big baggy fit on him, so he could almost wear it like a jumper really over the top of a t-shirt. So he's really pleased with that. I'm definitely going to be using that pattern again for all 3 of my children. It's a lovely, quick and easy make, and he's loving wearing it, which is a testament in itself because he doesn't always wear the clothes that I make him. But this one definitely has been worn a lot this month, so I shall be making this pattern again. So those were all my makes for the Sew Frugal challenge. I hope you enjoyed seeing those. I would love to get to the sundress that I mentioned, and I also mentioned a button-down dress that I thought looked really lovely for the summer months. For now, and given all of the other things that I was trying to get in this month, that is what I made. So I hope you enjoyed seeing those. Let me know in the comments below what you made for the Sew Frugal challenge this month. I'd love to know. So on with the other things that I made this month, and I'll start with what I'm wearing. Now this is the Weiland tank by Elbe Textiles, and this was one of the patterns that I had on my Make 9 for this year that I really, really wanted to get made up. Now I made this in a yellow jersey. Yellow is not normally a colour I would choose to wear, but I did think it would go with lots of things in my wardrobe, including this circle skirt that I made for the Frugal Challenge because there are little yellow dots in this fabric, so I think it will go really well with this skirt and also with other skirts and jeans indeed in my wardrobe. So the reason I did choose a yellow fabric for this top was for the Sew Yellow for Endo challenge that Jess was running over on Instagram to raise money and awareness for endometriosis. Now the Weiland tank is a beautiful tank pattern. I'll just take my cardigan down a bit so that you can see it has these lovely thick straps which hide a bra strap beautifully, but there is also a shelf bra which is sewn into the pattern. Now there are 2 ways of making this top. You can make it using the burrito method to encase the seams, or there is another method as well. I love a burrito. I love the finish that it gives, so I did choose to use that method to finish off these seams, so that just means it's finished off beautifully. The other thing that you're instructed to do in this pattern is to insert clear elastic in this V and also under the sleeves here, just for reinforcement and to help it keep its shape, which I just love. So it does look like a basic tank top, But the finishing in this pattern is just exquisite, and it meant that I've ended up with a really, really lovely tank top that I know I will get a lot of wear of, and that because of the finishing it will last quite a long time. Now I'll link the pattern below so that you can see the full size range, but it does have a great size range, and it does have 2 different cut options, and it also has a curved neckline here as well as this V-neck option. It has a cropped length and sort of then a mid length. However, I did add 2 inches to that length, which has brought it to exactly sort of the top of my jeans. Or if I wear a high-waisted skirt, it's perfect for a high-waisted skirt. If I'm going to make this again though, I will definitely lengthen it another 2 inches next time, so for a total of 4 inches added to the length. I don't have a particularly long torso, but I do like my tank tops to just sort of fall at the top of my hips, and this is about 2 inches off that. So I will be adding another 2 inches to the pattern next time. So that's the only thing I would say is, if you do prefer your tops to be a little less cropped, you may wish to add some length to this top. I saw quite a few sewing bloggers say that they had taken about 1 inch off the straps, which I may do next time, but actually for me, I think the V sits really nicely and I'm very happy with where it sits on me. I did make the B-cup option because that fit with my measurements, and I didn't grade it out, I just made a straight size C. But if I do add an extra 2 inches to the length, I think I will grade it out slightly over my hips just to give me a bit more wiggle room in there and just to make it sit better over the top of my jeans. Now I do think this is probably verging on an intermediate pattern in terms of just it being a bit more fiddly to sew with that burrito method or finishing off the seams nicely under the arms. But having said that, the Elbe patterns instructions were fantastic, and there were a couple of videos along the way, so if you were a confident beginner you could definitely give this one a go, and I think it would be a great addition to anybody's spring and summer wardrobe. Now the next 2 things I made, I'll just go through relatively briefly because I have done separate videos for both of these dresses. Now the first dress I'm going to mention is my OjayRoom Patterns Amelia dress that I made in collaboration with Amelia Sews. And here it is. So it's made in this beautiful blue sand-washed viscose from Lamazi Fabrics, and Amelia and I did a full pattern review of this dress in a previous video on my channel, so I'll link that below and up here so that you can go and watch that after this video. But in essence, this is just a lovely dress with lots and lots of different options. There are short sleeves, long sleeves, you can do a little tie around this collar, you can do the ruffle or not. There is an optional waist channel, which I think I might go back and add in just so that I've got the option of drawing it in around the waist a little bit. There are a number of different tiers that you can add to the skirt. So it's just a really, really good pattern in terms of giving you a lot of different options to hack this pattern about in lots of different ways to get different styles of dresses. I would really like to make this one again in a sort of softer, more lightweight sort of floral viscose for the summer. I think I'd probably do the neckline very similarly. I might raise the waist by about 1 inch and add some ties in there, and perhaps just do 1 or 2 tiers in the skirt. I did also think about adding a shirred panel on the inside here if it was a really nice lightweight floral viscose. So many different options for this pattern, which is a really, really good fun. So that was my Amelia dress by OjayRoom's Patterns. Now the other dress that I made this month was the Anna dress by By Hand London, which I made out of a beautiful fabric godmother cotton lawn, and I wore this to the Stitch Festival last weekend. Now this was such a fun one to make. I did twirl the bodice 3 times in the end, I think, to get the fit absolutely right for me. I ended up doing about a 2-inch small bust adjustment and taking 1 inch out of each side here of the back neckline. Other than that, I made a size 10 and it fits perfectly, and I'm really, really excited. I have plans to make another Anna dress really, really soon because I had so much fun at making this one. I love the kimono sleeves. It was such a comfortable dress to wear. It fitted really nicely, but there was still room to move, to breathe, to eat, which was great because I think you could make this a little bit even more fitted than I did if you wanted it to look a bit more formal perhaps. I absolutely love the fabric. It was so light and breathable to wear. I did style it with tights and boots and a black jumper for the Stitch Festival because it's still cold here, but I equally can see myself wearing this on a beautifully warm summer's day with just a pair of sandals or trainers. So do check out last week's video if you want more details about how all of that came together and sizing and how I found sewing it, but I think this does have to be my favourite make for this month which is the Anna dress by Hand London. So very briefly, before I go on to my Stitch Festival haul, I'll just mention a couple of things I made for my children. Now, the first thing that I actually made it back in November last year, and it was this really sweet Suzie skirt for my daughter. Now, I tested this pattern back in November, and they've just released it now in March, which is really exciting. It's a gorgeous little skirt pattern for little girls, perfect for beginners. The instructions are really clear and easy to follow, and there are 3 different styles you can make with this skirt. You can make a plain gathered skirt, you can make a circle skirt, and then you can make the version that I made, which was the pleated skirt, and you can just see the pleats there. I made it in this beautiful cotton poplin from Sew Sunshine, and she just looks so sweet in this skirt with tights and a little green jumper over the top. Now, the pattern has a flat fronted waistband, as you see, and then there is elastic inserted in the back, which makes it just super comfortable for little ones. And of course, I had to add a little rosy cheeks label. This is one of my favorite ones. You are important, you matter, and you are enough, which I just think is such a special message for her to have on her skirt. Now, this one came together actually really quickly. The only thing that took quite a bit of time was just making sure these pleats were put in really nicely and evenly. And it might have taken time, but it wasn't difficult. It was quite meditative actually. In the end, I did enjoy it. My bottle of starch spray and my iron and just putting in these pleats and then sewing on the waistband. And it's just finished beautifully and she loves to wear it. It's a very comfortable little skirt for her wardrobe. I'm looking forward to making this pattern again actually, I think in the spring or the summer, just to add a couple more skirts into her wardrobe. I'll probably just make the simple gathered skirt pattern, but I do love this flat fronted waistband and then the elastic in the back. I kept quite a long tail on my elastic, so you can see this is where the waistband finishes here and my elastic goes to about here, which I did so that I can let out that elastic a little bit as she grows, and hopefully she'll get another year or so of wear out of this skirt. Now, the last make I've got to share with you was another book week make. Like I said, my children like to ask me to make them things, and my middle son doesn't often get a lot of clothes made for him new because a lot of my older son's makes get passed down to my son, but he did request for book day a cat kid costume. So he absolutely adores the Dogman books and he particularly loves Cat Kid, and we looked for ages to find just a simple orange and black striped fleece fabric, but it was actually quite hard to find. So in the end we went for this tiger fleece that I found at Pound Fabrics, I think. It's so warm and snuggly and he has been wearing this on repeat. I made it like a onesie so that he could get a lot more wear out of it. We did put a tail on the back for Cat Kid. So we've been talking about maybe taking that off and just putting it onto a popper so that it's a little bit less dangly. It gets caught in things, unfortunately, the tail. So I think we'll probably end up taking this off and putting a popper on so that he can pop the tail on when he wants to be Cat Kid and then not have the tail when he just wants to wear this as a onesie. But this pattern was Simplicity 2855, which was a bunch of different animal costumes. It came together very quickly. It's just got elasticated cuffs at the wrist and at the ankle. It has a really nice little zip fastening down the front here so he can get in and out of that really easily, and then a facing around the neck. So yeah, that was a really quick and easy make. The pattern also comes with head pieces, so I did make him a headpiece to go with his costume. I just grabbed some jersey scraps and remnants from my stash and used some Bondaweb and things to put this little Cat Kid face mask together. The ears were in the pattern, they're so cute, and in order to just make it easy for him to take it on and off, I put a couple of poppers. Now I hid those inside the fabric so that you couldn't see them from the outside, but it's easy enough for him to take that on and off. So I ended up keeping that separate from the rest of the costume just so he could wear it for book day, wear it when he wants to dress up around the house, but he also has the onesie which is separate that he can just wear when he wants to be snuggly and warm. Right, so despite it being quite a hectic month, I did get quite a few things made. But the last thing I'll do before I sign off for this video is to just share with you a couple of things I bought at the Stitch Festival last weekend. It was such a lovely day out. I always enjoy going to the Knitting and Stitching Show and the Stitch Festival. I went this year with 2 friends, Amelia, who is Amelia Allen Sews, and Leah, who is Find Me Sewing over on Instagram. Such lovely ladies, and we had a really lovely day together looking at the different stands and saying hello to a lot of you. If you did come up to me, it was so lovely to meet you and to chat. Thank you for saying hello, and do, if you ever see me at one of these shows, do come and say hello. It's always nice to meet the viewers and to chat sewing with you. So thank you if you did come and say hello. It was lovely to meet you all. So we ended up having a lovely browse at the Stitch Festival. We bought a few things and it was just so nice to see other people in the sewing community. So I had a very clear picture in my mind of what I needed from the Stitch Festival, which was really helpful to go in with because there was so much glorious fabric and haberdashery things. I could have spent a fortune, but I did stick to my list, so I'm really proud of myself. The first place that I did buy something from was from Victoria at Little Rosy Cheeks. I picked up 3 packets of her gorgeous labels. I use them so much in my makes, so it was delightful to be able to have a look at her new collection and pick up a few new labels from Victoria. She also often sells vintage buttons, and I use a lot of white buttons in my makes, so I picked up these beautiful vintage buttons from her. And then my daughter's favourite colour is purple, so I picked up these purple buttons because I'm sure they will come in handy later on, and they're just so gorgeous I couldn't leave them behind. So some buttons and some labels from Little Rosy Cheeks was my first purchase. And then someone else that I really wanted to visit at the show was Laura, who is the Specky seamstress, and I wanted to pick up some of her bias binding. So I ended up going to see her and picking up 2 packets of binding. I got the Stitched with Love, which I thought was so pretty, and these gorgeous, I think she called them disco daisies. I just think they're so much fun, and they'll look really great inside one of my makes as a bit of a hidden pop of colour. So I cannot wait to use those from the Specky seamstress. Then, like a lot of us at the show, I did visit the Tilly and the Buttons stand and picked up the new Mabel pattern from her. I just think this is going to make such a beautiful summer dress, and I cannot wait to give this one a go. I probably won't get to it until next month now, I don't think, because I think April is going to be quite a busy month. I'll share those plans with you in next week's video. But I did want to pick up this pattern. I cannot wait to make this for the summer. I love a bit of shirring, and I've got the perfect viscose, I think, for this dress. So that will be on the list of things to make this summer. Then the last thing I picked up was a little bit of fabric. Now I'm going to share more about why I picked this up in next week's video, but I had a very definite idea of what I needed to find, and that was a linen canvas fabric. And I absolutely adore the Rifle Paper Company linen canvases, and I know that System & Taka often stocks those. So I headed straight to her stand and had a look at her beautiful Rifle Paper Company fabrics. In fact, all of her fabrics were absolutely stunning. I could have bought so many. So I'm definitely going to be making some more purchases from System & Taka in the near future. But for now, I have a definite plan for this, which I'll share in next week's video. And I cannot wait to get started using this beautiful Rifle Paper linen. It's a floral print. There are lots of things on it. There are strawberries, there are flowers, there are little ladybirds. It's so sweet. And to go with that, I picked up from another stand just a very plain green cotton fabric, which I'm going to use as a lining. Now I thought I'd pick this up at the Stitch Festival so I could really get a nice match for the linen canvas fabric. So those are the only things that I bought this year at the Stitch Festival, just a few things that I needed, a few fabrics that I need for a project that I'm going to sew up in April. And like I said, there were so many beautiful things there. I could definitely have bought more, but I'm still waiting to move back into my sewing room, and until then I just don't have enough space to bring too much more into the lounge room. I've already taken it over a little bit with all my fabric and machines. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was a bit of a longer one with lots of makes to share and a little bit of a haul there at the end. But if you did get to the end, thank you so much for watching, and I so appreciate you staying tuned until the very end of the video. If you haven't, please do like the video, subscribe, click the notification bell, and do check back next week when I'm going to be sharing lots of different plans that I have for my sewing in April. I'm really excited to share what I plan to make next month. So thanks again for watching. I hope you have a lovely week ahead full of lots of happy sewing, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.